This is the story of Skolola, a girl who had already endured more pain by the age of 12 than many face in a lifetime. She was born and raised on the streets of Lagos, cared for only by her mentally ill mother, Abini. There was no father, no home, no safety, just survival. For 2 short years, Skolola tasted education when a kind woman sponsored her school fees. But when that woman suddenly vanished, so did her chance at learning. Left behind was a bright, determined girl trapped in a world that seemed to have forgotten her. Then, one day, everything changed. Skolola crossed paths with Jessica, the daughter of a billionaire, studying in one of the most prestigious schools in the city. Jessica had wealth, privilege, and opportunity, but she struggled with her studies. And it was Skolola, the barefoot child from the gutter, who became her secret teacher. But when Jessica's powerful father discovered his daughter sitting under a mango tree with a homeless girl, what he did next would shock everyone. Life on the streets was brutal. "Dirty thing, I said move," a market woman shouted, spitting near Skolola's bare feet. She didn't flinch. Insults no longer hurt. They were as common as dust in her lungs. Her mother, Abini, sat nearby, lost in her own world. Her wrapper was slipping, revealing scars and dirt that told 1,000 untold stories. Sometimes she mumbled songs, fragments of old Yoruba lullabies, but mostly she wandered in silence, chasing shadows and arguing with ghosts only she could see. Skolola had no father, not even a name or picture to cling to. When she asked, "Mommy, who's my daddy?" Abini stared at the rain and whispered, "Maybe the rain." That was all she ever said. They slept under a broken kiosk near mile 12. When it rained, they shivered. When it was hot, they burned. Their mattress was a flattened cardboard box. Their blanket was silence. Every morning, Abini woke screaming, clawing at the air. Skolola would hold her close and whisper, "It's me, Mommy. It's me," cleaning her with whatever water she could find. Begging was their only income. Coins were rare. Insults were constant. Hunger gnawed daily, but dreams still lived in Skolola's heart. She would watch school children pass by with neat uniforms, shiny shoes, and full lunchboxes. She whispered to herself, one day I'll be there too." She longed to sit in a classroom, to raise her hand with confidence, to read from books unsoaked by rain. More than anything, she longed to be called by her name without scorn, to be seen, not pitied. But who would care for the daughter of a madwoman? Yet Skolola held on to hope. Somewhere inside her, a quiet voice promised, one day she would escape the streets. One day, her mother would smile again and call her princess. One day, everything would change. As Skolola reached into her bag to count their earnings, a single crumpled 10 Nigerian Nairas note and 3 coins, she heard a hawker yell behind her, "Thunder, fire, poverty!" She didn't even turn around. Instead, she tightened her hold on her mother and whispered, "Amen." It all began with a simple plate of jollof rice. That afternoon, Skolola crouched beside her mother near Oshodi, her empty stomach twisting in pain. Her mother was lost in one of her silent spells, rocking back and forth, murmuring to no one. That's when Skolola noticed a woman watching her from across the street. The woman stood behind a small food stall, a wooden table, 2 coolers, the aroma of rice and pepper soup filling the air. She was fair-skinned, full-figured, dressed simply in an Ankara gown. But what caught Skolola's attention wasn't her appearance. It was her eyes. There was no pity in them, only quiet curiosity. Embarrassed, Skolola looked away. She hated being stared at like a stray. Moments later, the woman crossed the road and stopped in front of her. "What's your name?" she asked softly. Skolola hesitated, then whispered, "Shola." "And your mother?" Shola pointed at the woman beside her, who was now singing to an empty bottle. "She's sick, isn't she?" Shola nodded. "What have you eaten today?" There was no answer. Shola's silence was answer enough. The woman didn't press. Instead, she reached into a bag and held out a covered food pack. "Here, eat." Shola froze. Strangers didn't give food for free. At least, not without expecting something in return. "Don't worry," the woman smiled gently. "I'm not like the others." That was the first time Shola met Annie Linda. The food was warm, the rice soft and flavorful, the meat tender. Shola hadn't tasted meat in months. That evening, Auntie Linda came back, this time with bottled water and soap. "What's your story, child?" she asked, helping Shola wash her hands. And Shola told her everything. The madness, the streets, the hunger, the dreams she kept hidden. Her voice didn't break, but it carried the weight of years. Auntie Linda listened, wiping Shola's hands with her handkerchief. Then she said, "Tomorrow, come to my shop. You'll help me clean. In return, I'll feed you." "Deal." Shola's nod was so quick, it was almost a bow. The next day, she came. She swept floors, washed plates, served food, and she watched. She studied how Auntie Linda worked, how she smiled at customers, how she carried herself like a quiet force. One afternoon, Shola sat under the counter, drawing numbers in the sand with a stick. Auntie Linda noticed. "Where did you learn that?" she asked. "From watching the school near the express road." Shola replied, "I memorized what the teacher says." "You mean you've never been to school?" "I went once. 3 weeks. Auntie Bessie paid, but she moved away." Auntie Linda was silent for a long time. Then, the following week, she returned with a gift, a brand new exercise book, and a pack of pencils. 2 weeks later, she went even further. 3 weeks after that, Shola stood inside a dusty public school classroom, her hands trembling, heart pounding. She wore a second-hand uniform, too big for a small frame, but to her, it felt like a royal robe. "Behave yourself," Auntie Linda said that morning, straightening Shola's collar. "Make me proud. I don't have money to waste." Shola clutched her nylon bag with the new exercise book like it was treasure. That first day was strange, but it was the beginning of everything. The other children stared. Some even giggled. But the moment the teacher asked a question and Shola answered, faster and more accurately than anyone else, the laughter stopped. She was brilliant, too brilliant to ignore. She could solve problems older students struggled with, recite poems after hearing them only once, and write with remarkable speed and neatness. Even the headmistress asked one day, amazed, "Who taught this child?" Shola always gave the same answer, "Auntie Linda." Every day after class, Shola returned to the food stand. She cleaned tables, washed plates, served meals. Sometimes she was rewarded with leftover soup or fruit, but her greatest reward was Auntie Linda's approving nod and the simple words, "Good girl." For the first time, Shola felt seen. For the first time, she felt loved. Then everything changed. One evening, Auntie Linda came home holding a white envelope, tears in her eyes. "My sister in the UK finally processed my papers," she said, smiling. Shola grinned. "So we're traveling?" The smile faded. "No, Shola, just me." The air went still. "What about me?" Shola asked quietly. "I've paid your school fees up to this term," Auntie Linda said gently. "Maybe God will send someone else to help. I've done all I can." Shola lowered her head. She wanted to beg, to scream, to plead, "Take me with you." But all she did was nod. 3 weeks later, Auntie Linda was gone. No goodbye. No one to pay the next term's fees. One afternoon, the headmistress called her into the office and said softly, "I'm sorry, Shola. Without fees, you can't remain." She didn't argue. She just stood outside the school gate for hours, clutching her bag, waiting for Auntie Linda to come back. But she never did. She waited until the sun dipped low, until the noise of children faded, and parents carried them home with snacks and smiles. No one came for her. Finally, the gatekeeper said, "Little girl, it's time to go." She nodded, brushed the dust off her skirt, and walked away. But where could she go? The broken kiosk she once shared with her mother now belonged to a drunk man who threatened her with a belt when she came near. The corner by the bakery, where her mother used to beg, was taken over by boys who sniffed glue and fought anyone who crossed them. The streets had changed. Her mother hadn't. Still barefoot. Still lost of madness. Still talking to shadows. Shola found her that night by a gutter, trying to feed a dead pigeon soaked in dirty rainwater. "Mommy, it's me," Skolola whispered. Let's go somewhere safe. But her mother only hissed and struck her. Blood trickled from Skolola's lip. She wiped it away and sat beside her anyway. That night, they curled up on the pavement, surrounded by cigarette butts and mosquitoes. Her mother laughed in her sleep. Skolola didn't sleep at all. The next morning, she put on her faded uniform again, wrapped her books in a black nylon bag, and went back to the school. She waited outside the gate. Maybe they would change their minds. Maybe someone would help. But when the headmistress passed, she frowned. Why are you here again? I told you no fees, no school. I'll pay, Skolola stammered. I will. Please. How? You and that crazy woman don't even eat well, the woman said sharply. The word stung like a slap. Please, Ma, let me just sit at the back. I won't make noise. The headmistress shook her head. Don't disgrace yourself. This is not charity. Leave. And that was it. The gates closed. Skolola sat by the wall and cried until the words on her notebook blurred. Days turned into weeks. She went back to the food stand, hoping Auntie Linda had returned. But the stand had a new owner who chased her away. She sold her last pair of sandals for 300 Nigerian nairas and used it to buy bread and Gary. Her uniform turned gray with wear. Her exercise book was ruined by rain. The ink bled until her notes disappeared. The world stopped seeing her as that smart girl. She was just another street child, just another shadow. One evening, searching for a dry spot to sleep, she saw a boy no older than 9 strike a match and smoke something wrapped in paper. He looked up at her. Come join us. It makes you forget, especially when you're hungry. Skolola shook her head and walked away. Her hunger was loud, but her fear of becoming like them was louder. She still had one treasure left, her mind, and somehow, despite everything, Skolola still believed. She believed that one day, just one day, everything would change. No matter how many times they mocked her, chased her away, or called her names, she kept going back. Every morning, while other children tied shoelaces and straightened crisp white shirts, Skolola found a way to backfence a City Crest Academy, a private school that to her looked like a palace. The walls gleamed with gold paint. The windows shimmered like mirrors. The students wore blazers and polished shoes, their names stitched neatly into their uniforms. She didn't belong there, not even close. But that didn't stop her. There was one window, slightly cracked, behind classroom. It sat near an old mango tree, forgotten and hidden from sight. Skolola claimed it as her secret place. Balancing on a narrow ledge, she could see everything. The chalkboard, the neat rows of desks, the teacher's hand moving as she explained vowels or solved math problems. Skolola would mouth the answers silently, clutching a broken pencil like treasure. Her notebook had long been ruined by rain, so she wrote on scraps, flyers, cardboard, tissue boxes, anything with a clean corner. Every day she stayed until the bell rang, then slipped away before anyone noticed. But one Monday, she wasn't quick enough. The teacher spotted her, a small, ragged figure at the window, eyes shining with curiosity. "Hey, who's that?" the woman shouted. Skolola froze. A boy turned, sneered, and pointed. "It's that crazy girl again, the one who follows us." Laughter rippled through the class. The teacher stormed toward the back door. "What do you want? Who sent you here?" Skolola's voice trembled. I just want to learn. Please, I'll stay outside. I won't disturb anyone." "Are you mad?" the teacher snapped. "Do you think this is a public place? Go tell your mother to pay school fees first, if you even know who she is." The words cut deep. Skolola opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The teacher reached for a stick. Skolola turned and ran, tears burning her cheeks before she even realized she was crying. But she didn't stop. The next morning, she tried another school, Bright Scholars Academy. Less glamorous, but still fenced and guarded. This time she didn't climb a window. She crouched near a broken part of the fence and listened. When the children chanted times tables, she whispered along. When they practiced English, she repeated every word. Sometimes She even corrected them quietly under her breath. One morning, a boy spotted her. He hurled a stone, which, "Go away, you're distracting us." It hit her shoulder. Scola didn't cry. Another child laughed. "She's mad like her mother. Go to the mental hospital." Still, she came the next day, and the next. But pain has a way of piling up. One afternoon, a security guard caught her. "You again? Always sneaking around like a thief." "Who are you?" "I'm not a thief, sir. I just want to learn," she pleaded. He didn't care. He shoved her to the ground. "Next time I see you here, I'll beat you." Limping away, Scola looked back at the school building, the bright walls, the desks, the chalkboard. Everything she wanted, everything out of reach. She sat under a tree nearby, picked up a stick, and began writing multiplication tables in the dust. When the wind blew her scribbles away, she simply started again. That night, as her mother mumbled incoherently beside her, Scola stared up at the stars. "God," she whispered, "why did you make me so smart, only to lock the school doors? Did you give me this brain just to suffer?" No answer came. Only the distant honk of traffic and the soft sobs of a 12-year-old girl who wanted more than survival. The first time Scola carried a tray of water on her head, it nearly broke her neck. She was barefoot, balancing a rusty metal tray stacked with sachets of lukewarm, pure water, all borrowed on credit from Mama Doris's shop. "Don't drop any," Madame Doris had warned. "If one falls, you pay. If I see you sitting to rest, you pay." Scola just nodded. She was used to rules that hurt. She adjusted the tray and stepped into the sun. The Lagos road didn't care that she was just a child. It didn't care about her blistered feet, her shaking shoulders, or the heat that made her dizzy. It cared only for hustle. The pure water trade was a battle. Grown women shoved past her. Older boys called her Mad Girl and stole her customers. Buses nearly grazed her. Drivers yelled like she was invisible. But she kept moving. Every time she sold a sachet, she whispered to herself, 5 naira closer to food. Her goal was simple: feed her mother. Nothing else mattered. Not uniforms, not books, not dreams. Just bread and a little soup, so her mother wouldn't go hungry. By midday, her legs trembled, her lips cracked, and her body screamed for rest. She found a patch of shade under a peeling billboard and sat. She counted her earnings. 12 sachets sold, Nigerian naira 1-0. Just 10 more, and she could buy Gary and okra. A man passed by, glanced at her small frame, and dropped 200 Nigerian nairas into her tray. "Go buy something, little one," he said kindly. Scola blinked. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. But the kindness lasted seconds. As soon as the man turned the corner, a teenage boy darted by, snatched the money, and vanished into the chaos. Scola screamed, chasing him until her chest burned, but the crowd swallowed him whole. Breathless, she sat by the gutter and wept. People passed by. No one stopped. No one cared. That evening, she returned to the roadside where her mother sat humming and clapping at nothing. Scola forced a smile. "Mommy, I brought bread." Her mother looked at her, puzzled. "Who are you? Who are you?" "The angel with black wings." Scola's throat tightened. She sat close. "No, Mommy. I'm Scola, your daughter." Her mother giggled. "My daughter is a star. She fell from the sky and drowned in a bottle of oil. That's what they told me." Scola said nothing. She tore the bread into small pieces and fed her mother slowly, gently. She didn't eat. She was too tired. Later that night, Scola found a broken mirror near the kiosk where they sometimes slept. She studied her reflection. Sunburned face, swollen eyes, cracked lips. She looked nothing like the neat students she used to watch through the school windows. And yet, her mind was still alive. "When you divide 6 by 3, what do you get?" she asked herself softly. 2, she whispered with a faint smile. No matter how harsh the world was, no matter how hungry or tired she became, her mind stayed sharp. Her spirit was unshaken, and that small flame kept her moving. The very next morning, Scola was back on the streets. Tray balanced on her head, bare feet aching, but her heart steady. She wasn't just selling water. She was chasing something bigger. Hope. A chance to prove that even the daughter of a mad woman could rise beyond the dust of the roadside. Queen's Crest International School was not a place for someone like her. Its gates were tall and gleaming, guarded by men in crisp Navy uniforms. Students arrived in spotless SUVs, their drivers wearing white gloves. The walls shone with fresh paint, and the glass windows caught the sun like jewels. It was a world for the wealthy, the untouchable. But Skolola had seen those gates too many times to ignore them. And today, something inside her whispered, "Go closer." She had no money, no plan, and no permission, just an unshakable hunger to learn. Slipping past the busy road, she found a small gap in the fence near a drainage pipe, hidden by overgrown weeds. Heart pounding like a drum, she squeezed through, ignoring the thorns that scratched her skin. She moved quietly, hiding behind trees and hedges, ducking whenever a teacher or student passed. At last, she found herself under the shade of a large mango tree near the backfield. From there, she could see into a junior classroom through an open window. She crouched low, pulled a pencil from her pocket, and began scribbling notes on a scrap of nylon as she listened to the lesson. She was mid-sentence, whispering an English passage under her breath, when a voice startled her. "You're the girl they always chase away, aren't you?" Skolola froze. She turned slowly to find a girl about her age standing behind her, neat cornrows, a spotless uniform, and a name tag that read Jessica Ague. I wasn't doing anything wrong," Skolola stammered. "I was just listening." Jessica tilted her head. "Why?" "Because I want to learn," Skolola said quietly. Jessica's expression softened. "You don't go to school?" Skolola shook her head. "My mother, she's sick. We live by the roadside." Jessica looked down at her polished shoes, suddenly quieter. "They laugh at me, too," she admitted. "They say I'm stupid, that my dad pays the school to keep passing me. I don't understand anything they teach." Skolola's eyes widened. "You? But you're here." Jessica nodded. "Everyone's always ahead. So I come here during lunch, away from them." A silence hung between them, heavy but kind. Then Jessica smiled. "Want to sit?" Skolola hesitated, but Jessica settled on the grass and patted the spot beside her. Slowly, Skolola sat down. Jessica opened her school bag and pulled out a textbook. "Can you help me with this?" "Fractions. I just don't get it." Skolola's face lit up as she studied the page. "See this? 1/2 and 1/4. They don't have the same bottom number. You make them match first." Jessica leaned in, listening like no one ever had, and soon she was solving problems that had once seemed impossible. I understand," Jessica gasped. "I finally get it." Skolola smiled shyly. "You're not dumb." Jessica grinned back. "And you're not just smart. You're brilliant." They stayed under the mango tree until the bell rang. "Will you come tomorrow?" Jessica asked. Skolola hesitated. "They'll chase me." She didn't belong there. At least, that's what Skolola believed. But when Jessica's sharp eyes met hers, something shifted. "Wait here," Jessica said. Without another word, she ran off. Minutes later, she returned, not alone this time. A uniformed security guard trailed behind her, radio clipped to his belt. "This is my friend," Jessica declared, standing tall. "Her name is Skolola. She'll be coming here during lunch every day. Let her in." The guard hesitated, brows furrowing. "But she's not." "She's my friend," Jessica interrupted firmly. "And my dad owns the school. Do you have a problem with that?" The guard blinked, then shook his head. Jessica turned to Skolola with a smile. "Same time tomorrow?" Skolola nodded, still stunned. As she walked away, her heart carried something new. It wasn't fear or shame. It was hope. That night, while her mother sang to the shadows and danced barefoot in the dark, Skolola sat by the roadside and whispered a prayer. "God, I met someone today. Someone who saw me. She didn't laugh, didn't call me dirty or mad. Please, let me see her again. Let this not be a dream." She fell asleep with a smile on her face, the first in a long, long time. From then on, they met every day under the mango tree. Scola came barefoot, wearing the same faded brown dress, carrying a plastic bag filled with scraps of paper and a dull pencil. Jessica came in her neatly pressed uniform, a lunchbox packed by the family cook tucked under her arm. Two girls, two different worlds. But under that tree, none of it mattered. Jessica laughed more now. She paid attention in class, not because her teacher suddenly made sense, but because Scola did. "Don't read like a robot," Scola whispered once. "Read like you're talking to your best friend." Jessica tried, stumbled, tried again. When she finally got it right, Scola clapped like she had just won a trophy. "No one ever claps for me," Jessica confessed quietly. "You're rich," Scola said, surprised. "Don't people celebrate you?" Jessica shook her head. "Only when I wear the right clothes or when my dad throws parties. Not when I try. Not when I fail." Scola took her hand. "You deserve more." Jessica didn't reply. She just held on tighter. They shared food and secrets, dreams and fears. Jessica brought her gifts, a hairbrush, a small notepad, a pair of slippers. Scola rarely wore the slippers, afraid they'd be stolen. In return, Scola gave something rarer. Stories. Stories about stars that loved street children, about girls who built schools from scraps, about mothers healed by rain. Jessica listened to every word like it was gold. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. And for the first time, Scola didn't feel invisible. But their friendship was a secret. Jessica never told her teachers, her classmates, or, most of all, her father, Chief Agu, one of Lagos' most powerful billionaires. How could she explain that her best friend was a street girl with no shoes? So they built their own world under the mango tree. A world where names didn't matter. A world where a billionaire's daughter and a madwoman's child could dream the same dream. Then one afternoon, Scola didn't come. Jessica waited. 10 minutes. 30. An hour. Panic clawed at her chest. Was she sick? Hurt? Chased away again? Jessica was about to run to the gate when she heard a voice. "Jessica." She turned. There was Scola, barefoot, panting, dirt streaked across her legs, but smiling. "I'm sorry I'm late," she said breathlessly. "My mom had an episode. Ran into the road. I had to pull her back before a car hit her." Jessica rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her. "I thought you weren't coming." Scola chuckled softly. "Even if I had to crawl, I'd still come." Jessica pulled back, looking into her friend's eyes, and in that moment, she knew this wasn't just friendship. This was something unshakable. "One day, I'll tell my dad," Jessica said, her voice steady. Scola hesitated. What if he says no? Jessica's eyes lit with determination. "Then I'll scream until he says yes." That night, beneath the faint glow of a broken street lamp, Scola lay beside her mother, who hummed softly, rocking a stone like it was a child. Scola stared at the sky. "God," she whispered, "I've never had a friend before. Please don't let me lose this one." She reached into her pocket and pulled out the small blue notepad Jessica had given her. On the first page was a simple drawing. Two stick girls holding hands under a mango tree. One wearing a school uniform, the other in torn clothes. Scola traced the lines with her finger, smiled, and closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, sleep came without fear. The next morning felt ordinary, but Jessica was anything but calm. She fidgeted in class, tapping her desk as the hours crawled by. The teachers praised her for answering questions correctly. Even the principal mentioned her name during assembly, but none of them knew why she had changed. It wasn't because of tutors or lessons. It was because of Scola, the barefoot girl with a sharp mind and a heart that could light up the world. By 12:35 p.m., Jessica was already at the mango tree, lunchbox ready, 2 spoons in hand, and Scola's favorite biscuits tucked safely in a corner. Then came the sound that made her heart sink, a low rumble of black SUVs entering the school grounds. Heads turned, teachers paused mid-sentence, and the security guards straightened their uniforms. Jessica's stomach twisted. "Daddy? Why is he here?" Chief Agu did not make unannounced visits. His presence was rare, powerful, and commanding. Even before he spoke, The weight of his name filled the air. Jessica stood quickly, brushing crumbs from her skirt, panic rising in her chest. And then Skolola appeared, barefoot, smiling, a little breathless. "I'm here," she said cheerfully. "Sorry, I had to fetch water before coming." But Jessica wasn't smiling. Her eyes were fixed on the tall, broad-shouldered man stepping out of the SUV. Dark-skinned, dressed in a perfectly tailored black kaftan, leather sandals gleaming, Chief Agu. Skolola followed Jessica's gaze, and her smile faded. "Is that—" Jessica nodded slowly. "My dad." Fear rippled through Skolola's chest. "I have to go," she whispered. But it was too late. "Jessica!" The deep, commanding voice echoed across the school lawn. She froze. Chief Agu strode toward them, flanked by 2 assistants. His sharp eyes swept over the scene, curiosity and authority mixed in his expression. "What are you doing out here?" he asked. Jessica swallowed hard. I was having lunch." "With who?" His gaze shifted, landing on the girl beside her, barefoot, in a torn brown dress, clutching a plastic bag with worn papers and a half-eaten biscuit. "Who is this?" Chief Agu asked, his brow furrowing. Skolola lowered her head, trembling, words trapped in her throat. Jessica stepped forward, her chin lifted. "This is Skolola," she said clearly. "She's my friend. One day, I'll tell my dad. I promise," Skolola whispered, swallowing hard. "But what if he says no?" Jessica's eyes burned with determination. "Then I'll scream until he says yes." That night, under the faint glow of a broken street lamp, Skolola lay beside her mother, who hummed softly while cradling a stone as if it were a child. Skolola stared at the night sky. "God," she murmured, "I've never had a friend before. Please don't let me lose this one." She slipped a hand into her pocket and pulled out the small notepad Jessica had given her. On the first page was a simple drawing. 2 stick girls holding hands beneath a mango tree. One wore a school uniform, the other tattered clothes. Both were smiling. Skolola traced the drawing with her finger, a soft smile tugging at her lips. For the first time in her life, she closed her eyes and drifted to sleep without fear. The next morning began like any other, but Jessica couldn't focus. Her fingers drummed restlessly on her desk as she waited for the lunch bell. Her teachers praised her for answering questions correctly. Even the principal mentioned her improvement during assembly. But none of that mattered, because Jessica knew the reason behind it all. It wasn't a private tutor. It wasn't extra lessons. It was Skolola, the barefoot girl with a brilliant mind and a heart bigger than anyone Jessica had ever known. By 12:35 p.m., Jessica was already under the mango tree with a lunchbox, 2 spoons, and Skolola's favorite biscuits tucked neatly inside. Then she heard it, the low rumble of black SUVs entering the school compound. Heads turned. Teachers paused mid-sentence. Even the security guard stood straighter, saluting. Jessica's stomach tightened. Why is Daddy here? Chief Agu never came without notice. His very presence carried weight, his name commanding respect wherever it was spoken. Jessica stood abruptly, brushing crumbs from her skirt. Before she could think, Skolola appeared, barefoot as always, breathless but smiling. "I'm here," she said. "Sorry, I had to fetch water before leaving." Jessica didn't smile back. Her gaze was fixed on the tall, dark-skinned man stepping out of the SUV, impeccably dressed in black, with leather sandals and an air of authority. "Is that—" Skolola whispered, her body stiffening. Jessica nodded. "My dad." Skolola's smile faded, panic flooding her chest. "I have to go," she murmured. But it was too late. "Jessica," a deep voice carried across the lawn. She turned as Chief Agu strode toward them, 2 assistants close behind. His sharp eyes scanned the scene, landing on the barefoot girl at his daughter's side. "What are you doing out here?" he asked. Jessica's throat tightened. "I was having lunch." "With who?" Chief Agu's gaze shifted to Skolola. Dust on her legs, a worn gown hanging loosely on her frame, a nylon bag clutched to her chest, and a half-eaten biscuit in her hand. "Who is this?" Skolola's head dropped, her lips parted, but no words came. Her body trembled. Jessica stepped forward. "This is Skolola." She's my friend. Treat her with the same respect you give my daughter." The room went silent. A girl from the streets, now living in the home of one of the most powerful men in Lagos. Yet Chief O's tone left no room for doubt. The next morning, Shola stood before a mirror in Jessica's room, dressed in a crisp Queen's Crest uniform. It was new, perfectly ironed, and she barely recognized herself. Jessica clapped with joy. "You look just like me." Shola smiled faintly. "I feel like I'm dreaming." "You're not," Jessica said. "Daddy said it's real. He said you belong here." "But I'm the daughter of a madwoman," Shola whispered, her voice shaking. Jessica shook her head firmly. "No, now you're the daughter of my father." Shola turned toward the window, the morning sun washing over her face. "I don't know how to thank him." Jessica smiled. "Thank him the only way that matters. Shine. Show the world who you are." That day, the two girls walked through the gates of Queen's Crest together. Matching uniforms, matching bags, matching smiles. The halls buzzed with whispers. Wasn't it the street girl who used to watch from outside? But Shola was no longer on the outside. She was brilliant. In class, she raised her hand confidently. Her answers impressed every teacher. By the end of the day, the staff gathered in astonishment. "Where did this girl come from?" one asked. "From the street," the principal said with a smile. "But now, she's family." Meanwhile, Chief O kept another promise. Schola's mother was placed in the best psychiatric care. Dr. Aisha assured him the condition was treatable, though it would take time. Shola visited weekly. At first, her mother didn't know her. She screamed at walls, cried over things unseen. But on the fifth visit, she looked at Shola and whispered, "You look like the sky." Shola broke down in tears. Weeks passed. Slowly, Shola adjusted. Some nights she still woke up thinking she was back on the sidewalk. She still flinched at sudden movements. But her laughter grew freer. Her voice grew stronger. Through it all, Jessica remained her anchor. They became inseparable, sisters not by blood, but by choice. One Friday, Chief O called Shola into his study. She stood nervously as he gestured to a chair. "I've been watching you," he said. "You've changed my daughter's life and mine." "I didn't mean to," she murmured. "I just wanted to learn." He chuckled softly. "And now you will. From this day, you are my child, too." He handed her a tablet loaded with study materials. Shola stared at it as though it were treasure. "Thank you, sir," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing me when nobody else did." "You were never invisible, Shola," he said gently. "You just needed someone to look close enough." That night, Shola sat in the garden under a trimmed mango tree, looking at the stars. "My name is Shola," she whispered. "Daughter of no one, friend of Jessica, student of Queen's Crest. And now I have a father." She closed her eyes and prayed. "God, I asked you for 3 things. To heal my mother, to send me to school, to give me one friend. You gave me all 3. Thank you. I promise I won't waste this." The girl once known as the daughter of the madwoman had become something more, a symbol of hope, proof that one act of kindness can change everything. No child is worthless. Every life holds promise. When love and opportunity meet, even the most forgotten soul can rise. Shola was proof.